Hello, Sacred Travel friends. I am so glad you found your way here. And before we dive into this episode, I'd like to give a huge thanks for everyone who has been around and supporting me in this channel for a while. And also a warm welcome, as these are so many of you are new here and just getting started. So if these conversations resonate with you, please leave us a rating or share with someone that you care for. You literally have no idea how valuable your small gesture is for creators like me. But now let's begin. Wherever you are on your journey, I welcome you to listen with curiosity and the permission of self to go deeper, just like my next guest did. He has walked over 7,000 kilometers with a backpack while on his spiritual path, and he says, "Nothing has given me as much as the long walks have." Gideon Enok has just released his brand new book, The Pilgrim Spirit, a deeply personal account of how walking 3,500 kilometers along the ancient Camino de Santiago transformed not only the course of his life, but the way he understands meaning, suffering, faith, and what it truly means to be human. He will also be a featured speaker in Destination Awakening Travel as Transmission, with his and more episodes airing later this year. So stay tuned for this one. But for now, welcome, Gideon. I'm truly excited to have you.
Thank you very much. I look forward to the conversation as well. Thank you.
Lead us to the very beginning. Before your pilgrimage began, you were in an extremely dark place emotionally. What has happened in your life internally before you heard that voice by the ocean?
Yeah, so I was actually in a breakup situation after a relationship that actually didn't last very long. But the reason why it was so difficult for me was, at least that's what I've been, when I look back, that's been the conclusion, was that I was returning to a cycle that I hoped or wished or I thought, had left. But I was just, put back into that cycle where the universe obviously wanted me to break. And in that breakup scenario, or that period of time, I went out of her house, went into a farmhouse, a red farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. I had no transportation options but walking. So every day I walked to the stores, I walked around the place 3 times a day. I walked short, longer walks for whatever reason, but just to move. And but I was still frustrated. Every time I woke up that in the morning, I wish I almost didn't wake up. I was just really frustrated and annoyed, and just after 10 years of traveling and having done so much, at least I thought, why am I not moving on the path that I thought I was gonna be on? So on the 30th morning, I woke up and really decided I need to change something now. It has to be now. It was very decisive, and I woke up deciding that, okay, I need to make significant shift here. So I sat down, meditated for 3 hours. And as I stood up, you can sort of, after such a session, you kind of feel like moving or shake it up a bit. So I decided, okay, let's go for a walk. And I took a 2 hour walk to the ocean. And as I arrived at the ocean, it was a very calm day. It was June 7th. So summer has sort of been peaking its warmer eye to the world, I guess. And when I stood there, it was all calm and so on. And all of a sudden, there was this voice asking me, "Why don't you walk from Denmark to Santiago?" To the and I had not smiled for a while, and I almost looked around like, "What come from?" And obviously, I'm humble enough to say it probably was inside my head. It was probably, in that regard, very normal in some sense, but it was so vivid that it was really like someone actually spoke to me or asked this
Mm.
question. But it inspired me. It made me smile. It made me sort of like invigorated in the sense of, wow, there's something here. It definitely planted a seed, which just a few moments later, I met my parents for lunch and I shared what just happened. And it was almost like when I shared it, my mom could see that this meant something. There was a radiant smile on my face, and the emotional answer definitely came when I did share it. And 2 weeks later, I began walking, having no clue why, no understanding of what was ahead of me. I just knew that this was something I had to do. And I just trusted the unknown and had a great faith in this guidance or this energy that apparently was pulling me towards Santiago and Finisterre from Denmark. So that's how it
That is
began.
So powerful. And, like specifically that you speak into the unknown. And we have to mention, like, it was basically during the pandemic. So everything was
Yes.
like shutting down. You left in the middle of the last, like, biggest global uncertainty that we know of, lockdowns and fear. And so, what's inside of you? Where did you source that trust that that was the thing that you needed to do?
Yeah, it's a good question, and honestly, if I I don't think I can take the full credit for deciding or whatever made me walk. I used to say that when we make decisions with our head, but if we follow our heart, we don't have to make any decisions. So that's kind of how
It just
I see it.
happens.
Yeah, I really allowed myself to just trust whatever it was that pulled me. And I didn't really think of restrictions. I didn't think of all these things. I just completely trusted that this was something I had to do. And apparently, as we maybe get into this later on in the conversation, that revealed itself to be very clear that it was meant to be. So so yeah, that's kind of the answer I can give to that one.
I find it's very powerful, and specifically because personally, like doing a lot of work with women, I know that women have done a lot of work in the past couple of years to really trust their gut feeling more. Which now I also think that for men it's still hard, but they are doing the work as well. So, what can you say to that? Have you always been like a big feeler?
I definitely think I have had an intuitive curiosity or critical way of thinking because when I was only like 5 years old, I come from a very religious family. My dad, I mean, both of my parents come from religious families, but my dad's was very dogmatic and very right and wrong based, black and white. Everything was that you were basically living a wrong life if you didn't live or think in a certain way. And so I was very inquisitive when I was small. Even when I started to really be able to talk, I asked questions: Why do we have to go to church? Why do we have to go to work? Why do we have to do these things? And that has never stopped. And I can't really take credit for that either because I don't know where it comes from. But it has continuously given me, what do you say, yeah, curiosity about life, or also just questioning why am I actually doing the things that I'm doing, and why are we doing things that we're doing as a society, or and so on. And especially if there's no really good answer, I keep questioning because there must be a greater reason, right, for certain things. So I think that that's been sort of a very natural path for me. But at the same time, I also know that I've been also ignorant when it comes to certain things. I mean, I've also been through shifts, in terms of from being ignorant to some things and being more aware of other things. And I think the greatest shift the first really powerful shift I had when it came to like finding my path or finding my sort of or maybe bridging my curiosity with finding maybe answers or finding sort of inspiration in what a potential path would be was when I was at event, a weekend event, I think it was just one day, half a day with a renowned speaker, and that was in the end of 2009, February 2009, and he talked about things that just seemed to really make sense, but I was kind of not really knowing at the time what that meant. When I came to work the following Monday, I sat down and literally I felt like I was in complete presence. It's almost like I could hear what people were thinking before they began to open their mouth. I was so conscious or so present with yeah, what was going on that I couldn't really work that day. So I told my boss, who became a good friend, and said, "Yeah, I can't really work today. What should I do?" And he just said, "Go home and write it all down. It's first real when you write it down." And obviously, he's a good friend for that reason. He just really got me. And and then I began starting to read books and to just be really interested in reading books about spiritual and personal development and just being interested in business or entrepreneurship and see there's many possibilities in this life. I don't have to work like I have been in the sales job that I had at the time. And my friend and boss actually left Denmark less than a year after that and sort of followed in his footsteps in the early part of 2010 when I was like, I need to renew myself and live differently. So I sold and gave away everything I had and began traveling because I thought that was the way to follow that path of curiosity and growth and just living a different way. So yeah, that's a bit of an origin story of how the shift in terms of from yeah, moving out of my parents' place, living by myself a bit, and then sort of taking the step into yeah, a path of growth and renewal and seeing the world and seeing my own inner world as you move around. So yeah, that's how kind of that path began actually, I would say.
So powerful. And it's it just makes me think of how important it is that we have these spaces or people in our lives, like specifically also professional lives, that we can share this with, and it's being received in a way that, yeah, without judgment. So I'm glad that this was the way that it went for you.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Let's take us a little bit, onto the emotional roller coaster on the journey, because
Yeah.
when I think of pilgrimage, and I know it for myself, like travel, we sometimes always romanticize it, or we have these ideas of like, oh, this is what it's going to be like. But when we are there, there's also like these moments of breakdown that retrospectively are very often the moments of breakthrough, but when we're in it, it's almost like the worst nightmare that can happen. So what were these like psychological or emotional hard moments that you experienced across that long walk, and how did you navigate through them?
Yeah, that's a big question because there's a lot of moments, obviously.
Well, in
When
3,500 kilometers, I guess there's
yeah,
a lot.
yes. The beauty of the whole path for me was that I had a tremendous amount of faith in whatever was going on at the time. And I think that was that was the foundation for it all. I mean, that was really my biggest asset was the faith I had in that unknown guidance, whatever that really was. But I think that the way I like to talk about the three phases of the Camino, which I think it kind of is maybe the easiest way to sort of narrow that down in some ways. The physical phase of the Camino or life or in any aspect of what you pursue in life is the initial part where you are excited and motivated to embark on something new, whatever that is. It could be learning something new. It could be a long journey of whatever kind, and could also be an education or whatever it may be. And I think the physical phase is to sort of get you started, get you moving, and get you into the rhythm of, in this case, walking. When you walk 10, 15, 20 miles a day, of course, it's going to take a while to get into the rhythm of doing that because when you walk half a marathon a day, at least, well, it takes some time to get your body, accustomed to that.
Yeah.
But when you have sort of gotten into that after 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, depending on which is interesting because sometimes it seems like that there is a difference when it comes to the length of the journey. Also, I found that both in my shorter journeys and this long one, that it had sort of a it depended on the length of the journey because maybe you already know how long it's going to take, so therefore your mind is sort of changing your intentions or expectations. But on the long journey, it took me about 30 to 40 days to actually get into the rhythm of walking, and I had to go far into Germany to actually really get into this to the rhythm of the physical phase before I sort of entered this mental phase, the next part, which is where you go into your traumas and your attitude and your thinking and sort of the more deeper issues or you know challenges that you have in your life. And I can say that that's also when it really began for me on the journey. I think I had to be sort of I was definitely angry sometimes during the part in Germany. So for everybody listening, I walked through
Mhm.
Denmark, Germany, Belgium, then from top to the bottom of France, and then yeah, I went through the Basque country. I want to respect that they have a country, and then the Spain in the end. And I had to go into France before the mental phase really kicked in. And what was interesting was I had to actually arrive in Paris, and I had to get new shoes to uh,
Mm.
to actually be able to continue because the other ones
Mhm.
were already used quite a bit. So I bought new shoes. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the same ones that I really wanted, the ones that I've been used to for many years. And I was very focused on I need to have Gore-Tex. I need to protect myself from the rain and everything. And so I chose a pair that had a bit of a harder shell and so on, and not realizing that it would take me some days to actually get used to those
Mm,
ones.
yeah.
And so already walking around Paris, I could begin to feel that these shoes are not as comfortable. And as I began to walk out of Paris, I was like, "My God, I will be in for something here," because I had thing of not really wanting to walk backwards. I don't really like that, which probably would have been the best case and best doing that in that case. But I continued to walk, and on day 78, 79, I began to really realize that these shoes were the worst decision I could have made on this entire trip.
Oh.
They were so hard. They didn't give at all. It was like having sandpaper in the shoes. It was like walking on thorns all the time. And it's because sometimes if you have shoes that are maybe a tiny bit too small, if you walk far enough, your feet actually expands a bit. So when that happens, it can really rub on on the soles or the inside of the shoes a lot. So everything went against me when it came to getting used to these shoes and whatever. And and so I continued walking, and on day 79, I began to realize walking out of a campsite that I came into this town called in French, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but in English, you could pronounce it Angerville. That's how the name of the first town was called, and it was very interesting because, yeah, I was
How
being
appropriate.
yeah, it was
Welcome.
almost like the journey was like or the path was telling me, "Yeah, Gideon, you're gonna be feeling it today."
Isn't the
So,
universe sometimes so ironic?
yeah, and, I went into town, bought some supplies, some canned I had this canned food concoction I used in France, canned tuna, beans, and what was it? The 3rd part, anyway. Then into my backpack, bought some stuff at the baker. Then I sat at this kindergarten outside of this kindergarten where there was innocent laughter and playing, kids
Hmm.
outside, and I was sitting on the corner eating my food there, trying to figure out what am I doing today. Because there was only 2 places I could stay. There was a campsite 17 kilometers away, and then there was a hotel 32 kilometers away.
Hmm.
I was like I already had like an inflatable mattress that didn't work very well, and so I didn't wanna stay at the campsite, so I thought, "Okay, 32 kilometers, I can do it. I've done that before. Let's go." But as soon as I booked that hotel room, it was almost like a snake of a chill came down my spine
Hmm.
right when I did it, almost like a future déjà vu, you know, that this is gonna there's gonna be consequences here. I started walking and realizing that right away that it was not 32, it was 37 kilometers more, already being in pain and agony. And so that day really began at that point where pain was almost like yeah, it's hard to explain. You should probably read the book to really I'm really proud of the chapter in the book about that because it's just really I've used all the superlatives, I think, for pain that I could find. But it just kept being painful, kept walking slower, kept having to
Hmm.
feeling so much pain. It was the only day where I really doubted I could finish. And it was warm, very hot, and I was sweating. Everything was just burning and heat inside and everything. And so when you ask the question, how do you keep going? Well, when you have no other option but to take a step at a time, that's the whole crux of the journey really. My brother told me in the beginning of my just before I left, you need to learn how to lean on yourself without anybody else.
Hmm. Yeah.
And when I got to the climax of that day, that's when I could only focus on the steps, not even arriving, but only focus on the 1, 2, 1, 2. I literally counted 1, 2, 1, 2 to have focus. And so it was a very, very painful day. And I kept going through the pain, obviously, and but really got to a very crucial point in leaning on myself, leaning on all I had, which was my feet and my legs, even though it was so painful. But what was beautiful was that in the climax of that pain, I began to find answers to why I'd been resisting my grandparents in my life, religion, been resisting the control of society, because I've been very sort of fighting everything all the time in my life, and realizing that through the pain there that I didn't really have to. I had to forgive my grandparents. I had to
Mm.
let go of this pain, but I didn't really realize that consciously before I entered this bubble of grace, which was all of a sudden I walked into this bubble that was towards the very end, and all of a sudden, even though I felt the pain, I just stopped resisting it. I stopped fighting it. I stopped
Mm.
being angry. It was almost like it was really like a yeah, I was letting go obviously, but it was a very unconscious thing. And all of a sudden, I was in this bubble of complete presence and grace, where maybe similar to that day at the office, who knows? But where I was just experiencing it all. I was not fighting everything anymore. I was just experiencing the pain, experiencing it all without resisting and fighting it. And I know for a fact that after that and the rest of the day, those last 2 or 3 kilometers, that planted seeds for more humility, less fighting, and just doing the best I can. And of course, I'm not a perfect human being, but I know that foundation for that planted seeds for the man I am now and becoming and became through that whole journey. It was definitely the climax of my life when it came to pain, came to answers. Yeah, it was a really special day, very hard day, but very special. It gave me some very fruitful answers. So it's hard to boil it down to more than that or to elaborate more than that. But yeah, that was very special, very important for me.
It sounds very humbling, like to the bones, to the core. Did you make it to the hotel?
Yes, I did. I did. And, uh, and it was interesting because when I sat down, I knew something significant had really happened. I really felt like there was a level of calmness or knowing that this day would change my life. And the reason why, of course, I had the ultimate faith in that I would continue no matter what happened. But it was also that I kept going. I kept taking the steps. And I think one of the things I really learned is during that whole walk, especially that day, was if we keep taking the steps, no matter how small they are, we will arrive. We will get to wherever we need to be. And it's a very simple thing, but that's also why I think walking is so special. It takes us back to a very origin or original human action, which is so simple. And and that's also why I keep going back, keep looking for long walks. And also what I see is that so many people who have been on long walks, they very often go back and want to try again and do it again because the transformation or the change or the awareness that you gain from it is so yeah, so special, and it's so renewing you in a way that maybe other things don't in a similar way. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think yeah, that's why it's special. I think.
You said to me, the longer you walk, the deeper you go. And I know that this is also in the book. So, by the way, everybody, the QR code that is on Gideon's screen, please scan that and it guides you directly to the book and some other cool stuff that he has available.
Yep.
So that the longer you walk, the deeper you go. It really seems like, a mantra, just as you explained, that keeps you going, but also when you uncover it, and this whole process that you just described, I would probably use the word initiation, that this is what it was. So what does this sentence, this mantra, actually mean to you? What did it mean to you on the walk?
Yeah, I think there is a reason why I probably call the book "The Pilgrim Spirit." It's because that I think a lot of people who walk far, no matter if it's in the Camino or whatever. I mean, especially on the Camino, definitely people talk about the Pilgrim Spirit as this energy that connects you to the experience and other pilgrims and just sort of yeah, the experience as a whole. But what I so yes, to also give a different overview is that my first walk was in 2014 when I walked the French way of the Camino, which is this sort of the traditional walk from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Santiago and the coast if you choose to go there. And then in 2015 in the summer, I walked through Portugal from Lisbon and up to Santiago and Finisterre. And then I did the long one in we're talking about And then I did the Camino del Norte in 2023, and I did the French Way again with my partner last year. So, yeah, that's how it accumulates up to over 7,000 kilometers. But I think the difference that I definitely, when I look back, the shorter walks, which of course are very long as well, and then the longest one I did, is that there is definitely a difference in how far you walk, I think. And when you ask, what does it mean to me? I think it was just the experience of that, even though that I was sort of guided on this long walk, it definitely seemed like that the longer I walked, the deeper I went into myself and deeper but also letting go of things I didn't need anymore. When I walked the Meseta part on my long walk through Europe, that was a very different walk on the Meseta than when I did it on the French Way of the Camino the first and second time, before and after this long walk. Because all walks are different, you know. It's also a matter of
Hmm.
I was also in a very big personal transition at the time, and the timing of that was also part of the whole experience, I think. But I also remember that when I was on the Meseta part, I was looking forward to it on the long walk. I looked forward to it, to be in the middle of nothing. There was no distractions of trees and nothing. There was just nothingness on a long road. And I looked forward to it in a very different way because I knew that I was capable of taking on the challenge of that, maybe a little differently than when I walked the shorter path and encountered the Meseta for the first time, because that was maybe only 2 to 3 weeks into the walk. This was 4 months into the walk, right? But that was a very interesting part because that made me, it was almost like the challenges that I received during the Meseta part on the long walk through Europe. It was almost like I had a cape that sort of like, oh, just it just came to me, the challenges and the negativity and the things I'd been battling, whatever. And oh, okay, it go. You know, I didn't have to. I had already gone through this most the most what do you say, the most challenging part of the walk, or the most difficult times on the walk. And so I think it just helped me to realize that, yeah, I was a bit more grounded, a bit more connected, and yeah, had a bit more presence probably than on the first walk. And I think I think it definitely was because that the longer walk, the longer that I had, the longer that walk was, it yeah, that made the difference, I think. And that's also what I would recommend anybody. I think if somebody asks me, what do you recommend in terms of walking? Because of course, all walks are valuable. If you take a 30-minute walk around the forest or around the block to clear our head for a meeting or something, of course that helps. And but if you want to really change your life and do something that really makes a significant and long lasting difference, I would recommend anybody to walk, you know, at least 30, 40 days, because it does take time. It's a very slow process. So it's also a
Yeah.
matter of, we have to slow ourselves down literally by taking the steps, literally by taking one day at a time. And we are not used to that in this society. And when we are out there walking day by day and feeling the pain, feeling the ground underneath us, the wind, other people who are on the same journey as us, I think it just really makes us reconnect to our humanity, reconnect us to something very organic and special. And so if you can take 30, 40, 50 days, 2 months out of your calendar of your life, imagine how much value that will give you for the rest of your life, you know? So I think that's, yeah, another answer to what it means to me, and how I would answer it, I think.
I love how you phrase it, take it out, not of a year or so, but like really your entire lifespan, because that puts it into a completely different
Yeah.
perspective. Take us a little bit deeper into that pilgrim spirit.
Mhm.
What is that, and what were the moments that you encountered it?
Yes, I didn't meet many people on the walk, obviously, because the long walk there was during very weird time during the, yeah, in the world. And I can only say that, I mean, I'm so happy. I mean, I'm so happy and grateful that I was able to walk during that time. Obviously, it was during, between June 22nd and November 17th during 2020. And so it was a little less crazy, I guess, during the first 3 or 4 months of the walk. But it was very clear to me that when I walked out of Paris and out of Orléans, And when I walked out of Orléans, I met the first pilgrim, Marie, who had walked out of Paris because she also needed a break from all the craziness, I guess. And and it was the first time I walked with somebody during the walk for more than a couple of days. We walked together for 3 days. And I think that a lot of people who encounter other people on the path, especially pilgrims for some reason, at least in my experience, they bond very fast. How I defined when I walked with Marie for 2 or 3 days, we said goodbye to each other after 3 days because she had already walked a week and that was enough for her for that time. And on day 85, was it? I walked out of that town, Blois, I think it was, and began to really think about what is it that's going on with me? Like, why is it that, first of all, on that morning, I answered questions from the waitress that was helping me, serving me with my nice breakfast that morning, and she was so very curious and inquisitive about my journey and why I was doing this, and my answers came out so fast in such a
Mm.
confident manner that I didn't even think of. And it was one of the first experiences beyond the podcast I had during the walk with my friend Stefan, who I mentioned before. We did podcasts during the walk, which was very helpful for me to express what was going on. But that was when one of the first times I really began to realize something is really changing in me, and I don't really know why, other than something is definitely changing. I feel so much more alive, so much more confident and about who I am, the journey I'm on, and the path I've taken here. And so I was wondering, first of all, what is going on with me, and why was I bonding with Marie so much? Also, because I've had previous experiences with meeting people on the way. Why are we connecting in a way the way we are? And first of all, I think it's because we're moving. I think we're moving together
Mhm.
in the same direction. And
Mhm.
but I wanted to define it in 2 words, or in very few words, at least at the time. And the words I got to was truth and trust.
Mm.
There was something about that the trusting of each other, the trusting of that we are here together on the same path, going the same way. That was very, for whatever reason, very trustworthy, and has been trustworthy. So many of the people I've met is just very, very open. And when you trust so fast, you open up yourself to the truth, to your truth, to other people's truth very fast. And that has been a very special thing when I look back at what pilgrimages really does to people. And I'm already getting teary because when I think of the pilgrim path, especially the one on the French way of the Camino, I think that most people who have walked that path, they know that it's very special. There is definitely an energy there that is quite different than any of the other paths. Something I felt myself when I did the other paths. But one of the things that has really, yeah, defines maybe the pilgrim spirit is obviously what I call the human spirit. And is, of course it's the human spirit. What else would it be? But I s- when there's many people who walk because they have lost something. They have lost a
Mhm.
parent, they have lost their kid, they have lost their job, they have lost their way, they have
Mm.
lost something, or they have a heaviness or an a burden, or they have something that is just hard to carry, hard to live through, but they don't wanna give up. They do not wanna give up life. They wanna continue to live life and wanna use the path as this bridge between the darker side of themselves or the darker side of their life, whatever that period is for them, and see this path as the way to continue to move and continue to, yeah, have a certain faith in that my life is worth something, and I will do all I can to keep finding that value or that worth. And if there's something that keeps me teary almost every time I talk about it, that's it. The human spirit, that little flame inside of us all, that when we go through hard times, we do not give up. And when you meet people along the way who 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 feel that way and feel that I'm not going to give up my life. I'm going to continue walking this path because I know that there's something worthwhile for me and maybe for others by doing this. I think that is just something that I have a very that's that's very hard for me not to be emotional about, because first of all because of my own experiences, but also because there was a German guy I met. I think that must have been the first time I walked the French way. He walked for his wife. They were supposed to walk together, but she passed away not long
Oh,
before.
wow.
And he stood there in the middle of the square in Santiago and said, "This is for her," you know. And I think there's just so many of those experiences where you to see the beauty of humanity and to see the beauty of people who just believe that life is worth something, even though that it's hard, and it is hard. I think life is not definitely not easy, and but by getting an experience like this over 30, 40, 50 days or however long you can do it, you also get a that's also one of the things that I like to mention is that I've done a meditation retreat some years ago, and that was a very tough experience, I would say. I mean, 10 days of basically not saying anything, sitting down and looking your life in the face in a way where you can't escape nothing. That was that was very hard. But when I compare that experience to my walking experiences, I would also, if somebody asked me, what would you recommend of the two? I would say do the walk because because the moving aspect of it. I mean, especially if you're an experienced meditator, of course, do what you need to do. But I would say that based on my own experience is that it can be helpful to do a long walk first because the moving part of it makes you move, makes you feel like there's movement both in yourself and where you are heading. And I think that's helpful because there can be a lot of things coming through you. And the whole moving aspect of it makes it a little easier and gentle on yourself because it is you're literally moving through it, walking through it as it's happening. So yeah, that's a bit of a there was a couple of different things there, but I think that's the heart of the Pilgrim Spirit. Obviously, it's called the human spirit, but the one that so many connects to, which is obviously inside of ourselves. When we shed off the layers, shed off the layers of the negativity and darkness and hardship and things, and that's also why maybe that's a good point to add is that the three phases I mentioned before, the physical, mental, there's obviously a third phase, which is called the spiritual phase. So the walk and the deeper you go, you obviously connect more to a spiritual essence of yourself, the spiritual essence of the experience that you're having. And when more people have walked for 30, 40, 50 days, you can imagine that the energy between these people are very different than first of all when they started, but maybe before they even in their life, because they are such in a very different place as human beings. And I think that the more we sort of have let go and during that walk and we sort of reconnect with the spiritual essence of who we are and other people and nature and why am I here and what's next and and it's more sort of light. I think that's why it's so amazing to arrive also to to Santiago is that so many people, especially if you walk with a group of people or gotten to know people, people are so happy, they're so present in a way that's, I mean, if you have ever been to Santiago and just and after you have arrived and maybe staying there a day or two and just sit there on one of the stone benches and just observe when people come in. I mean, that's an amazing experience to see how people have changed and they have accomplished something, and not just because of the accomplishment, but because of the inner experience that they have and then that they can now lean on for the rest of their life. And I think that's just a beautiful sentiment to why people keep doing this. I think it's just
Mm.
a constant re-upgrade.
Yeah.
So
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for really, taking us so viscerally into these emotions and really allowing us to feel the humanness and all of that and to feel that there is something greater that connects all of us despite what we see in the world happening about the separation. So I feel this is like the walking that you describe and the pilgrimage and that spirit, the human and the pilgrim and the angel spirit as well, in a way that connects when we are on this path. So thank you. And thank you for also being open to show your emotions. I
no
love
problem.
that.
Yeah, one of the things that I actually conclude the book with, or just my experience with this whole journey, both of walking and writing. The writing has definitely taken a lot longer than the walk, but um, but that's the authenticity of life, the authenticity of feeling things. I mean, the last 4 or 5 years of my life has been very challenging, both and also very enriching. I mean, there's many things I can share there, both in the terms of the writing process, meeting my favorite author, who became my writing mentor. I met the love of my life, and there's so many things like to be grateful for. But also been very hard. I lost my mom not long ago, a bit more than a year ago, year and a half ago almost. And so there are so many things that has been part of this whole package of this journey I've been on. But the conclusion is I want to feel life. I want to feel the authenticity of life, no matter how hard it hurts and how beautiful it is. I want to feel it all. I really want to feel it all, because that's when I can sort of say, okay, I lived. I felt what I need to feel, and I know, and sort of, or get sort of this is what the life experience is about, to feeling the highs and the lows, and the essence of what it is that we're going through as human beings when we experience something that we are really happy about and can accomplish, but also loss and things that are difficult. I It's not that I am happy about feeling bad or whatever, but as long as it's authentic, as long as
Yeah.
it's an authentic feeling of loss or challenge or whatever it is, I mean, give it to me, because then I still have something to to go through, right? So, and it makes me able to also share other things with confidence to other people that I dare to feel. I dare
Yeah.
to be open to that. And I think that's just an important part, especially of our society now, because so many things can be superficial and be a facade, and the way we many of us share things online, and unless we do it with really strong intention of doing with authenticity, it can be very, because algorithms and so on wants us to go in a different direction, right? In terms of drama and negativity and egotistical behavior. It's very important to remain true to who we are, no matter what the monetary or reach consequences in terms of how we do things. So, so yeah, that's been very important to me.
Totally. And yeah, if I may add to that, I also feel that, it really broadens our capacity in the way how much we can experience, like to the depth that we can experience life and how much we can hold life and hold different spectrums that are part of life. And that makes it definitely more interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would love to hear the story about meeting your now fiance.
she's my partner. Yeah,
She's your partner. Okay,
consider
great.
ourselves our partner. Yeah.
Let's finish with a happy story.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not sure how much time you have, but I would love to also conclude just a little bit of the journey, because I think it's an important aspect of the journey, which was when and I definitely want to talk about my partner, how we met. But one of the things that was really interesting about the walk was that when I arrived in to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, there were rumors about everything closing down again, and that's when without realizing, that's when the real journey kind of began in terms of challenges. Because up until that point, yes, the physical challenges have been there, the mental challenges have been there, but now the challenges of something that I couldn't control came
Mm,
into the
yeah.
picture. Only 5 days into the walk, I think, I woke up in Estella, which is usually the 100-kilometer point. So after 5 days or so, and that was a Wednesday, and they told us all that we had to the region of Nevada, which is a big region crossing into the Basque Country and part of France and Spain, would close down. So and close down in 2 days. So I had to leave. I had to get to La Rioja, which is the next region. Yeah, in 2 days. So okay, so let's do that. The choice to walk and maybe walk a bit further with a bit more urgency. Then I went to La Rioja, to Logroño, kind of a smaller region, but we also found out that on the day that I walked out, the day after, they would close down that region.
Wow.
And that's walking into Castilla y León, which is one of the biggest regions in Spain. And so, of course, I and the ones I walk with, okay, now we're here, all good. But we also consistently got information about that Burgos and León, the big towns in the region, was sort of open or closed, or nothing was certain, nothing was clear, nothing was really. Yeah, that was really a strange time when we couldn't really get any answers about what we were able to do. And so, yeah, we could do is keep walking, right? Then after Lyon, a few days after Lyon, we come to the chocolate city of Astorga, and again, somebody told me, "Well, in 2 days, the whole region will close down."
Wow.
And that was 100 kilometers to Galicia, which is the next region that didn't have any restriction, or I mean, not didn't wasn't closed. So I what else to do? I mean, I had to walk past like 2 or 3 mountain ranges or 4
Mhm.
mountains up and down for almost
Wow.
kilometers in 2 days. Yeah, on the 3rd day was when I walked into Osaberro and the top of the mountain there in Galicia after, yeah, the 3rd region closing the day before or the day after I walked into it. And so that was also when during the time when I was, like, concluding that this obviously was meant to be and destined that I did this, and sort of concluding, well, definitely there was definitely a reason why that was guided along the way. And so everything sort of after that sort of concluded nicely. I could finish and go on and and hug the do the jump in Santiago and hug the zero point 0.0 marker in Finisterre world. So yeah, that was interesting. And so, yeah, when the walk ended, so you can ask yourself, what do you do after such a long walk? And obviously,
Yeah,
I had no idea. It took me more than a year to begin to really put things into words. Everything had to sort of sink in, and that was another time where I sort of just had to trust that it would come.
I can
Uh,
imagine.
so it took me, yeah, a bit more than a year to really let that sink in, and another 2 years before the book was actually written and the editing process kind of was getting going. And in the end of 2023, that was after I had walked to the Camino del Norte and other things in my life had sort of shifted and changed. And I was like, okay, I need to find my place to really finish the rest of this book. And of course, that's Finisterre for me, the end of the world. And if people have not know of it, it's amazing, amazing little pearl at the end of the Camino, where I consider it where things end and things begin again.
Mhm.
And a very beautiful place, both in nature and also a place for the human spirit when it comes to people who have walked so far to change their life. And they get up there to the lighthouse and the zero point 0.0 marker and realize, okay, this is the end. There's no nowhere else to go but to go back into life and to take what I learned with me. And
Yeah.
that's why that place is very special to me and why I wanted to finish the rest of the book there. And so we're doing the end of October, I had decided to say, okay, every time, because the town of Finisterre is sort of 2.5 kilometers from the lighthouse. So you had to walk sort of it's like a half island, a little sort of natural pier out there with the lighthouse. And so I decided to say, okay, I want to change my life here. I need to go out to the lighthouse and touch the zero point 0.0 marker every morning until the end of the year. So I decided to do that. And of course, after 5 days, I didn't. I woke up a little late probably or whatever the case was, but I was like, "Okay, I need to continue. I need to get out there anyway." So I took my book with me, the one I was reading at the time, and headed out for the lighthouse during the late morning there or early noon or whatever it was. And then I came close and saw 2 couples or what looked like 2 couples or pairs of people walking and coming down from the side road, and I walked past the first pair of people there, and then the and caught up with the second one pretty fast. And there was a man on the left side and a woman on the right side. And as I was just passing him, I looked like this, and then there was this woman looking straight at me, smiling in a way that was so natural, and it just sparked right away. And instantly felt that there was something here I needed to check out. So
Explore.
as I usually do with I am at the zero point 0.0 marker, I help people take their photograph. So I did that, took their photograph with those 4 people, and she also felt something, I think, but I didn't really know it at the time. She gave me her phone to take pictures and whatever, and I just told her that if you want to talk, I'm in the bar reading. If you're interested, then I'm just here. And sitting in there for an hour, my heart was literally like, where is she? I know she's here. She's here with me in
Wow.
my energy field or whatever, but I can't see her. In my she's supposed to be here, but she's not here for some reason. So after an hour, I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? So I took, my book into my backpack and started to walk down the pavement there. But actually, the one that you see in the picture, exactly
Mm-hmm.
when I walked from the lighthouse there down to the souvenir shop, and then I was sort of looking back once a couple of times, and all of a sudden I saw this orange jacket, trying to get my attention, yelling at me, hey, trying to come back or whatever she said, and I was like, okay, and so went down there and we got caught up, and amazing. There was an amazing rainbow. Uh, I had a rainbow for I don't know how long out there, or if I had it all, or whatever happened. We quickly connected, and we went into the bar and just started talking, and didn't realize that yeah, she was from an Eastern Bloc country, and she didn't really
Mm-hmm.
understand all of what I was saying, but I was just blah 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 about the Camino and long walk and life, and and she was so sweet and just listening to me without me knowing that she didn't understand half of what I was saying. Yeah, that's when it started. We they were not finished with their walk. They had to finish in Muxia, the other coastal town, so they walked a couple of days towards that. So I took a bus on the second day and met her there, and yeah, gave her a little postcard which said, May the Pilgrim Spirit be with you." And
That's
she went on
sweet.
the bus, and yeah, we're still together. So yeah, we still wonder. We even talked about it yesterday. Like we still are amazed by how it happened, because we come from such different countries, different places in the world, and have very different lives. She's a musician and very good at it, and yeah, I'm very in a very different place in terms of art and whatever in my life. So, but it just has been meant to be. I just can't imagine my life without her. And so that's been the most beautiful conclusion to this whole journey, which obviously is still going, but yeah, that's been very special.
Life changing from the beginning to completion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
What would you want people to walk away from this episode with? Like, if there was one final piece to share.
yes, good question. Good question. Well, my writing mentor, I guess maybe I should take his advice or his answer, which is to never give up. Keep taking the steps, never give up. What's hard, keep taking the steps, and I really think that that's part of why the pilgrimage and a long walk is such a phenomenal learning tool. It's because that you are literally taking the steps. If you walk for 800 kilometers during to Santiago, you take 1,000,000 steps. 1,000,000 steps. That's a lot of steps.
It was a whole lot.
Yeah, and that also means that I think you're learning to lean on yourself. I think we can I think what we people really need is to be able to have an experience we can lean on for the rest of our life. I think that's what makes us feel confident and makes us feel like we are not lost, maybe that we have something that we gained for ourselves and can then from there share with others in a valuable way. And I think that accomplishing something that's significant, I mean, long walk could be one thing, could also be many other things, could be doing Ironmans or many other things. But the most important is to never give up and to always keep taking the steps, and also realizing that even you have bad days and you keep taking the steps, which because you will have bad days or what actually seems to be bad days on a long walk, but actually those bad days are actually days where you're releasing a lot of things that needs to be let go,
Mm,
going to be part of your life anymore. But that would not have happened if you stopped after a week. It would not have happened if you stopped after 2 weeks, most likely. But it will happen if you continue to walk and continue to take the steps that needs to be taken, because you don't really need sometimes you don't really know what you need sometimes. And
yeah.
sometimes we have to walk far enough to actually gain that experience, gain that understanding. Mm. So I think, yeah, never give up. Keep taking the steps, keep going, always keep going, and have a vision. I think faith has a lot to do with having a vision beyond where you are, right? So not to be in a rush or stressed about that, but if you have a vision, and have faith in that. The faith is looking through the wall or the path that you need to take that no one knows how will be. But beyond that, which where faith is, where you I mean, faith is literally like beyond where you are, right? It's beyond where
Yeah.
almost where beyond where your path is, but there's something beyond the path, beyond where how to yeah, if you can have faith in that, have faith where you're going, have faith in that vision that you have for yourself, your life, the p the steps will be a little easier to take, I think.
Yeah. Gideon, thank you so much for that, yeah, faith stirring and heart opening conversation. Apart from the book, The Pilgrim
Yes.
Spirit, that I am honestly super excited to be getting and to read. So everybody please check the QR code, and we're also going to be putting the link in the show notes. Do you have a copy already?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna show it, but it doesn't was it here?
Yes. Amazing. I really love the visual as well. Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
Yes,
it's a
we got it.
beautiful cover. Thank you, Tatiana, for creating that one.
And apart from the book, you also are offering pilgrimage consultation, we can say, right? For people desiring to start to walk. How can
Yes.
the audience best connect with you?
Yes, there's two ways. One thing I want to begin to create, which probably when this comes out, hopefully that has been started, is to have just free calls. People can call in, just ask a bunch of questions, no cost at all. And so that's always be open once a week. I hope to make that happen. And and then there is the yeah, if you really want some personal talk with me, definitely there's a discovery call on my website, thepilgrimspirit.com. And you can sign up for a call and we can just go back and forth and see how we go. One of the ideas I have is actually to create a calendar where the three phases of before, during, and after the Camino
Mm,
be part of this calendar, and or not a calendar, a diary, a journal, where people can use that on the walk, but also use it as a sparring tool with me, perhaps if that's needed for them, of course. But where we can talk about what the intention for the walk, especially if it's a long walk and it's really like that people really want to have a significant change in their life, well, then has to be some intention behind this. So what questions, what things do you need to think about before and going into this long walk? What will happen during the walk? Because sometimes you just really need to call somebody because you're in a
yeah.
traumatic, you're in a very difficult and challenging time because so much is happening. So then it's nice maybe to call somebody, and of course I'd be happy to support anybody who is in need of that. And people don't think of this, but the reflection part after the walk is very important. I would say that's probably almost more important than anything else,
I
because
would agree.
then that's when you need to put those things that you have learned and become into into your new life, right?
Embodied life. This
And
thing called life.
exactly, and reflect on it, write it down, and talk about it, and see what does this really mean to me? What will I bring on to my next phase of my journey in life? And I think that's so yeah, I hope to be able to create that, and so if anybody's interested, definitely reach out, and we can take those steps together. So
That sounds absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your, vast repository of experiences. I feel it's really so helpful for anybody who just wants to embark, but also to just, yeah, crack our hearts open to the mystery of walking and that endless faith and the trust that we can gain from that. So thank you so much for coming on. And I'm also super looking forward to the Destination Awakening episode that's going to be airing soon.
yes, me too. And thank you very much for having me. It's changed the picture for some reason, but oh well.
Let's bring on some walking footage. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and tuning in. And if this episode resonated with you, you can hear more from Gideon and how walking ancient pilgrimage paths literally can transform personal lives, but our entire collective trajectory of the world in Destination Awakening Travel as Transmission. Some of these specifically curated episodes are already live, and more will air soon, so stay tuned. And if this talk resonated with you, please leave us a rating on your favorite platform and share with someone who's fascinated of the Camino, the idea of pilgrimage or transformation through travel. And as always, stay curious and try to seek out the ordinary. I'll see you next time.